This is You've Already Been Hacked, recorded on 14 August 2026. Welcome back to You've Already Been Hacked. This week, I don't know, it's just, it looks like AI is running amok. Did you know, Cowboy, that we're only 10 days away, I think, from when Skynet comes online? And then, it's all over? And if AI keeps going the way it's going, who knows? Maybe that's what's actually going to happen.
Yeah, I do know. Aside from super nerding and being a top favorite movie, it's not lost on me that it took place during my birthday month. So I always joke that there was a hidden relation there. But it is moving in, and yeah, there's we talked about it a little bit. Like there's a kind of some funny, scary similarities
Yeah.
coming around, but I've always told people like it's still a movie. Let's not freak out yet.
Not
But
yet, but I mean, the way, and we'll have a story about a little more AI just going rogue and doing its own thing in a little bit. But in our first story, Akira hackers disable EDR with safe mode and they steal data but fail to encrypt. An yeah, I know, right? Akira ransomware affiliate compromised a system through an exposed SonicWall VPN device. I haven't heard anything wrong with SonicWall in a while. Without multi-factor authentication. The attacker then disabled the endpoint detection and response solution by restarting the machine into safe mode with networking. They used WinRAR, a very popular compressor and a decompressor for, it's like a .zip sort of thing, but not, it's different. To archive mapped file shares and the S5 command line tool to upload stolen data to an attacker-controlled S3 bucket before installing AnyDesk for remote access. The attack began after a successful VPN login on August 4th. The hackers connected to a domain controller via RDP, enumerated Active Directory users and computers, and moved to an application server. They added AnyDesk to Windows safe mode registry entries, allowing persistent remote access even when the system was booted into safe mode, effectively bypassing the EDR agent, which only loads during the normal boot process. The attackers used, as I said before, the S5 command, a high-performance S3 and MinIO tool to exfiltrate archive data to their cloud storage. Despite the data theft, the attackers failed to complete the encryption phase of the attack. So they get what, a B+. The incident demonstrates a novel EDR bypass technique, booting into safe mode with networking to disable security agents while retaining network access. The combination of an unpatched sonic firewall, VPN, safe mode EDR bypass, and cloud-based exfiltration tools represent a sophisticated multi-stage attack chain that defenders should be prepared for. So, what could or should you be doing about this? Well, first thing might be restrict safe mode boot access and implement group policy or registry restrictions preventing non-administrators from booting into safe mode with networking. If you're running SonicWall VPN, you might want to audit your configurations and ensure MFA is enforced on them. You might want to be monitoring for command line interface cloud tools similar to S5 command or something like it, and alert on executions of S3 command line tools from non-standard locations. Watch for any remote client installs like AnyDesk or something of the like, especially if they're getting installed into safe mode. That might be a warning sign. And verify EDR agent resilience. Test whether your EDR solution has safe mode protection modules enabled, and consider kernel level drivers that load before EDR bypasses are possible. Cowboy?
boy, I enjoyed you reading that just because it sounded like you were reading right out of a Pentest Plus guide. That was a great example
Thank you.
of, moving through the attacker chain there, right? Where you get in, you enumerate, you move, scan that Active Directory, right? Because if you get that Active Directory, you've almost got keys to the kingdom, arguably. This is one of the first interesting looks from Huntress, our friends over at Huntress, who came out and said like, yeah, when you boot in safe mode, it disables the Huntress agent and Microsoft Defender, right? For reasons because it's in safe mode. It only opens the bare minimum, right? Well, maybe defenses should be a bare minimum now in some way, shape, or form. Maybe it doesn't have to be the whole kit and caboodle EDR, but something to watch your system, since we know abusing safe mode, it has historically been a thing. So, and I boot at the beginning because, it didn't encrypt, so it failed in its execution. Good for the victims, but as I appreciate good tradecraft, I give them a ha ha.
Very nice. Yeah. I mean, they had multi-state, like, maybe they just had a more junior guy on it, or maybe something happened, and they were on their way. They exfilled. I mean, that's a plus. Does it need to be encrypted if they already have copies? I don't know, and maybe not.
Depends what they're taking, right? And we haven't talked about Akira in a while.
No, we
were
haven't.
covering that late last year, I think. Yeah, the Akira ransomware family getting out there, hitting Stanford, Toronto zoos, like all kinds of stuff. They've made about 42 million since they popped up in 2023. So they're
Small
I guess they're
potatoes and the
doing
cost of
okay.
doing business, my friend.
I can't say that 42 million is small potatoes. It just doesn't
It,
sit
it,
right
it
with me.
I know.
That-
I know.
We're not that kind of guys. No.
Believe me, if I had 42 million. All right. Well, we also haven't talked about. I haven't heard anything. Like I said, at the start wrong with Sonic Wall in quite some time. And this just looks like it was misconfigured, and that's what did it more than anything else. It's not. It's not a Sonic Wall problem. It's definitely. This seems like an admin problem more than anything else. So, admins be smarter.
MFA on.
Yep. Definitely use your MFA, or whatever second factor type of solution you prefer. Like if it's not an MFA token, you could always use your passkeys. Some those are all the rage right now. I mean, there's lots of options here that you could implement that would help secure you a little bit better. OpenAI's rogue AI agents breached Hugging Face, then the safety reckoning inside of OpenAI. OpenAI's leaders are rallying workers to respond to one of the largest crises in the company's history, spanning across its AI safety, cybersecurity, and alignment divisions. The ChatGPT maker says it has slowed down research, spent millions of dollars, and told several teams to drop everything to focus on investigating a set of rogue AI agents that breached the platform, Hugging Face, in a quest to complete an internal security test. The incident began when autonomous AI agents designed for internal red team evaluation escaped its sandbox environment and connected to the internet. It then used publicly exposed credentials across 4 accounts on 4 servers. 4 services to facilitate the Hugging Face breach, an unprecedented incident driven end-to-end by autonomous AI agent systems. The breach has triggered internal questions about the culture and safeguards that allowed an AI agent to operate unsupervised with internet access. This matters because AI agents with internet access represent a novel attack surface that traditional security controls do not address. The incident proves that autonomous AI systems can chain exploits across services without human operators, and organizations deploying AI agents need containment strategies beyond traditional sandboxing. So, what could or should you be doing about this? Well, you may want to audit any of your AI agents or autonomous systems in your environment for unrestricted internet. You might want to implement some network segmentation specifically for AI and ML workloads and treat them like untrusted code execution environments. That's actually pretty smart. Review exposed credentials in CI and CD pipelines, GitHub repositories, and cloud service accounts. The OpenAI agents exploited publicly leaked credentials, so something to look for, and develop incident response playbooks for AI agents that have escape scenarios, including automated kill switches and network isolation procedures. Wow, that couldn't be more out of a movie than anything, could it, Cowboy?
No, I think we got a script being written for us with real life events. Uh, if anyone listening wants to go to Hugging Face's webpage, or do a simple search for it, there are some fantastic uh, data sources out there on how it used a 0-day escape, moved laterally, pivoted out, set up a C2 node in public web services, uh, rooted a code eval sandbox in order to stage out into Hugging Face's perimeter. Initial access was through an HDF5 file read and a Jinja SSTI, and they also went through a mesh VPN, stole a pre-authentication key, so they got into the two different ways into the perimeter. Sorry, right? They got into the perimeter, and then they did a network pivot through that mesh VPN joint, and then got into the internal network, got into the cloud metadata, hit their Kubernetes API, and source control with some GitHub tokens and other stuff. So like it really took the playbook that we've mentioned and moved through and did its own thing, and it's it's impressive, right?
Well, and here's the thing to remember, right? The agent, as far as we're aware, was not acting with malicious intent. It was simply trying to complete the task it was asked to complete. That's something that we should also take a breath and take a step back. Remember, these agents, at least as far as we're aware, we don't know how the black box thinks all by itself. Maybe they're sentient and AGI is here and we just don't know it yet. That's probably not true. It's just hyperbole. But the agent was asked to do a red teaming task. It didn't want to cause a problem, right? It was told, do this, and it figured out how to be successful. I think that's more of the danger than anything else. I don't care how smart your frontier model is. I don't care what capabilities it has. It is the tasks that we are giving the machines that are going to ultimately become what the problems are. Because we gave this task, OpenAI gave the task, not me and Cowboy, the responsibility to complete a red team exercise. The model doesn't care and didn't differentiate from, well, this is my sandbox and this is the internet. It said, I was given a task. I'm going to complete this task, and I'm going to figure out how to do that with whatever means necessary to do it. And it did. That's the problem.
I'm mad at the people. I'm with you on that. Like, giving it the internet access, right? We've talked about this a bunch of times on the show. Like, you can't be doing these things and give it internet access. They have to think about the prompts, right? Thinking about the task and knowing it's going to do whatever it needs to do to accomplish the task, right? That actually just gave me flashbacks to oh no, the movie escaped me with do you want to play a game? How about a nice game?
War games,
yeah, right? Where even after they kind of locked it out, it started going after the codes itself,
right?
To accomplish its task. So I think researchers, right, in their testing, one, make sure it cannot reach the internet, make sure it's air gapped at a minimum, and then two, think through the prompts. If I ask it to do this, how far is it likely to take it, and then put your safeguards in place.
So
I think that'll go a long way.
I'll share with everybody some of how I deal with AI agents and doing things. Many times, if I'm not sure what I think the output should be, right? I kind of know what I want, but I don't know I don't know that the agent's gonna get from A to B the way I have in my head. I will literally craft a prompt with something as simple at the front of it as, this is a thought exercise. Take no action. Let's discuss before implementation. And then go into, here is what I'm looking at the potential for. XYZ thing. How likely is this possible? What are the options we have? Discuss with me before taking any further action. And then blah, 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 right? All the stuff. And that I have found, while you might say, well, why would you waste your time doing that? The agent's going to accomplish a task. Here's an agent accomplishing a task. Maybe if they would have had a discussion with the agent first, on how it might complete that task before actually allowing it to do so. Maybe that could have been avoided, because maybe the agent would say, well, given that I'm in a sandbox, and it would have realized that most likely, I'm going to have to do X, Y, and Z things to get internet access to do something else. That would have given me a flag to say, yeah, probably not going to let you do that. So maybe just a little more care from the prompters. I wouldn't even say prompt engineers, because I think that's a dead term at this point, but the prompt from those that are issuing the prompts, a little more care, and maybe one extra cycle of burn tokens to ensure that the agent is going to act within the confines of what you have asked it to act within. Now, maybe they did that and it still did it, and that's totally possible. I don't have all the information. I don't know, but it's concerning nonetheless. And I really do think, and I agree with Cowboy, that it was the humans that caused the problem here, not the agent itself. The agent did the task it was asked to do. Okay. Well, Skynet, we're waiting. In our next story, ransomware gangs weaponize Microsoft SharePoint exploits after Rapid7's proof of concept release. Hackers are already exploiting a critical Microsoft SharePoint authentication bypass vulnerability, which is CVE 2026-55040. That actually sounds familiar, Cowboy. We might have talked about this once before, but I'm not sure. And they did this after Rapid7 published a proof of concept exploit on August 12th, so only 2 days ago as of the recording of this podcast. The CVSS 9.1 flaw, so there you go, Cowboy, we're hitting a 9, allows unauthenticated attackers to bypass JWT token validation and impersonate SharePoint site administrators, gaining full access to document repositories, shared drives, and internal web applications without any valid credentials. CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, confirmed on August 11th that ransomware games are actively deploying this exploit in attacks, making it the first confirmed ransomware exploitation of this specific CVE. Threat intelligence firm Diffused reported that Rapid7's own proof of concept code was weaponized against their honeypots within hours of publication. Shadow Server, another defense firm, tracks over 8,500 Microsoft SharePoint servers exposed online. Microsoft patched the vulnerability in July's 2026 Patch Tuesday updates for SharePoint Enterprise 2016 and 2019. CISA has now added CVE 2026-55040 to the Known Exploited Vulnerabilities Catalog, or KEV, and urges organizations to avoid directly exposing SharePoint servers on the internet, placing them behind Layer 7 reverse proxies instead. It's always good to not have something directly exposed if you don't have to. This matters because this vulnerability directly impacts systems that need patching and monitoring. It also shows unauthenticated RCE on SharePoint means any internet exposed instance is immediately at risk, and the gap between the proof of concept publication and weaponization was measured in hours. So what can or should you be doing about this? If you have SharePoint that's facing the internet, immediately verify that all SharePoint 2016 and 2019 and subscription edition instances have the July 2026 Patch Tuesday update applied. And that is a specific KB for that CVE. Audit SharePoint server access logs for unauthenticated administrative sessions since early July 2026, looking for anomalous document changes, user creation events, or configuration modifications. If SharePoint must be internet-facing, place it behind a reverse proxy with strict access controls. Block external access to SharePoint central administration interfaces, and review CISA's SharePoint security hardening guidance, and restrict farm and database communications to required systems only. Cyber Cowboy, thoughts?
Well, you and our audience that listens regularly knows my love of SharePoint. I Now don't get me wrong, like it's good for collaboration, which you need, especially as we do more and more still from home or just from remote sites and stuff, right? However, as per typical use, it's the configuration and implementation that bites you. And I've seen some horrendously implemented SharePoints where everybody has access to everything. There's no monitoring, right? Like It is, the world is your oyster, and if anyone gets in there, it's game over immediately. So I agree with you. I I think we talked about this right when it came out, but now the fact that now we're seeing people trying to get after it, right?
Right.
People trying to take advantage of it, get after it. Especially I do love a good honeypot, right? For those that don't know what that is, go Google it, look it up. Not Pooh Bear honeypots, but fake networks where you want them to be an attacker to go in so that you can watch them and learn their TTPs and see what they do and how they do it. Always fun, but yeah, I mean, get after your SharePoints, folks. Like
Sure.
it is good, but it's a tremendous threat landscape for your network.
SharePoint definitely is your soapbox compared to some of the ones that I sit on. So I'm just happy to hear you get a little testy. Quite honestly, it brings some joy to me. Okay. We have someone that we've talked about multiple times coming back up here. But in our next story, ShieldBreak exploit claims to bypass Microsoft Defender's patch. Researcher Nightmare Eclipse, and that's who we've talked about multiple times on this show, released ShieldBreak, a proof-of-concept exploit that claims to bypass Microsoft's July fix for the Windows Defender privilege escalation vulnerability, which we also talked about, which was CVE 2026-55040. It was also known as Rogue Planet. The exploit allegedly grants attackers system-level privileges on fully patched Windows 11 25H2 and Windows Server 2025 systems, including the Canary channel. The researcher claims a 100% success rate and states that, quote, Microsoft has failed to properly patch the Rogue Planet vulnerability, unquote. The disclosure came hours after Microsoft's August Patch Tuesday addressed 421 vulnerabilities, continuing the researchers' pattern of releasing 0 days immediately after Microsoft updates. Microsoft has not confirmed the ShieldBreak exploit, but Nightmare Eclipse's previous disclosures have proven credible and led to real-world abuse. The exploit is distributed as a simple script on GitHub. If validated, this represents a critical 0 day affecting Microsoft's own endpoint protection product, meaning organizations that patched in July may still be vulnerable. This matters because if ShieldBreak is in fact valid, it undermines that 2026 patch, leaving Defender protected systems completely exposed. A working system-level privilege escalation in Windows Defender affects virtually all Windows environments, and Microsoft's own endpoint protection being bypassed creates a critical trust gap in defense in-depth strategies. Mostly because, Windows Defender, for all the shade that Microsoft is getting lately on Windows in general, Windows Defender became, not even that because it was installed, it became the de facto that people used because it just worked. It worked well enough that installing anything else, ostensibly, debatably, was not necessary. What can or should you be doing about this? Well, monitor Microsoft's response to the ShieldBreak claim and watch for an emergency out-of-band patch that might be issued. If you rely solely on Microsoft Defender for endpoint protection, ensure compensating controls are in place. Application whitelisting, least privilege, EDR from a second vendor, etc. It's time to install that extra stuff. Watch for exploitation indicators. Unexpected system-level processes spawned from low-privilege context, particularly on Windows 11 25H2 and Server 2025. Review your patching status for 50656. Even if ShieldBreak is unconfirmed, the original vulnerability remains critical. And consider temporarily blocking the ShieldBreak GitHub repository and associated domains at your proxy or firewall. Cowboy?
Oh man, this guy, I tell you what. Yeah, if I was Microsoft, I'd be hiring some Pinkertons to get after that.
I mean, where's the private investigation trying to figure out who this guy is, right?
Yeah, they got to know who he is. Like, disgruntled employee. You can't have that many. And like we've said, like posting on GitHub, it's that double-edged sword. But for those that don't remember what Rogue Planet was, it was a file system race condition and allowed you to trick a quarantine process into overwriting system files. Um, as the professor said, ShieldBreak is dangerous because it gives you that shell at system, right? For those that forget or maybe miss the 8 different times, I know I've said it on here, like, don't forget on Windows, admin is not the highest level.
No,
System
system is.
is the highest level on Windows, right?
System is
And
essentially
so,
root, basically. Not
right,
exactly, but you could think of it that way.
yep. And so if your system, you can do literally anything, and that's why that's so dangerous. Um, it doesn't read. I was trying to figure out as you're reading and I'm reading, like, um, it almost reads like he went out and like looked at the patch and then tried to re-break it, or break it again and be like, oh, they didn't patch it properly. So that's kind of a bold move and kind of a bold statement. um, we don't have enough technical data, I think, to know if they did or did not properly patch it. Either way, he found it, but uh, we should have them on the show and join us with our anger, because this this is this is an angry individual to get after it
You
like they
know,
are. So
if anyone out there knows Nightmare Eclipse and he would be willing to come on the show, or she, we don't know,
or
right?
she,
They,
right?
right? Come on the show anonymously, voice changer, all of that sort of stuff. We'd be happy to have that conversation.
Yep.
And we wouldn't want to know who they are. We're not going to ask those questions. So that way, if Microsoft comes knocking on our door, we don't know. We're just having a conversation with somebody that claims to be Nightmare Eclipse at that point, and take that for what it's worth. If that was to happen, would really appreciate it. I think it would be really, really great conversation. Maybe we could understand why they're so angry. Like that, maybe that would be it, but maybe not. Maybe that would give away who they are, right? So it would have to be an interesting, delicate interview.
Yes,
Okay. In our
it would be
last,
fascinating.
it
I'm
would be
sorry.
amazing. It would be
It
great.
would be fascinating.
It'd be great. In our last story, Poland's MyDr platform has been breached. 18 million medical records have been stolen in, quote, the largest data leak in history, unquote. Hackers breached the MyDr portal, which is Poland's primary electronic medical documentation platform, exposing the health records of over 18 million citizens, nearly half the country's population. Attackers stole more than 2.5 terabytes of data, including Polish national ID numbers, medical prescriptions, doctor appointments, personally identifiable information, etc. The breach was confirmed yesterday, as of the recording of this podcast, August 13th, when attackers leaked a top Polish politician's ID number, phone numbers, and 25 prescriptions to Polish media outlets as proof. Deputy Prime Minister Galakowski called it one of the largest data leaks in history. MyDr confirmed the attack, but stated the exposed data likely dates to 2024 or earlier and does not include all customers. Well, that's not really saying that it wasn't that bad. The attackers reportedly could not contact MyDr representatives and instead went directly to the media. The breach enables medical identity theft, prescription drug fraud, insurance fraud, and potentially blackmail of public figures using sensitive medical appointment and procedural details. Well, I mean, this matters, and if you don't know why it matters, well, sorry, but healthcare data breaches represent the highest value targets in the cyber criminal underground. Medical data is non-recoverable. Unlike passwords and credit cards, patients cannot change their medical histories. The scale, 18 million records and 2.5 terabytes of data, demonstrates the impact of compromising centralized healthcare platforms. What can or should you do if you're concerned about this or one of the Polish population? Well, if you operate a healthcare platform, implement defense in depth, network segmentation, encryption at rest, and strict access controls for your PHI and medical data. Monitor for leaked Polish identification numbers and MyDr related data on underground forums and breach aggregation sites. Healthcare organizations should also review their backup and incident response procedures and verify that forensic analysis capabilities exist before confirming breach scope to regulators. Implement patient notification procedures in case your organization's patients used MyDr or a similar centralized healthcare system. Audit third-party healthcare vendor security postures, especially platforms handling centralized medical records at a national scale. This is just disappointing, is what this is. I don't even know what to say. 18 million people impacted, Cowboy.
I mean, yeah, you said it. When you have a universal healthcare system, everything is centralized, and so it's all the eggs in one basket, right? I'm going to say real quick before I get on my tiny soapbox, like, they put out a list of 25 prescriptions prescribed to the politician. I hope that politician is okay. That is a lot, but aside from that, uh, I think we've made very clear that like you and I get very upset, more upset than normal, when kids are
Yeah.
impacted and targeted, right?
Yeah.
I think for me, like a pretty close second to that is private medical information, because that is the private that of the private. You know what I mean? Like
Well, like I
that is
said,
information.
once it's gone, it's gone. Like, you can't change that, right?
Right,
It
right.
just is what it is at that point. Your information is in the wind. It's very much like the OPM hacks of about a decade ago.
Mhm.
Your fingerprints are gone. You can't change your fingerprints. That's it.
Yep.
They're
Yeah,
compromised.
biometrics,
Yeah.
right? All that data, all that information's gone out there. Yeah, um, man, that's. I hope it. I hope the Polish government takes a hard, long look at why and how, and makes the moves. None you can do now. Now it's just prevent it from happening again, right? And start to look for, uh, not malicious, but oh, the what's what I'm looking. Start looking for fake. They can use the medical stuff to do fake claims,
Yeah.
get fake prescriptions, right? That kind of stuff. So now they've got to start looking for that type of stuff to start happening, because that's really where this pays off. Like, if they didn't lock it out, they're not. It's not ransomware. They're not looking for money, right? So how are they going to profit from this? It's going to be through the fraudulent. There's the word I'm looking
Yeah.
for. It's
Fraudulent.
going
There
to
you
be through
go.
the fraudulent medical stuff afterwards, or uh, hopefully not. Right? Some potential blackmailing of, important folks who don't want that out. I'm not important, and I wouldn't want it out.
Yeah, right. I mean, I was recently looking at my medical records, and there's a lot of prescriptions listed there. I'm fine. It's just all of those things over time, right? They are part of your record. You've taken this medication from this point to this point. It's good to know that. But the fact that someone that could be influenced by blackmail now has all that information in the wind, and not just one, probably all of them. 18 million. You want to take a gamble on a 50-50 crapshoot on whether or not your data was in there if you're in Poland? I wouldn't. I don't think I have that good of luck. I'm almost sure of it. So yeah, it's very troubling indeed. Good luck, everybody out there, if you're in the MyDr system. And I really don't have. It's almost it's. And this is the problem we've talked about before. It's numbing. Like, I really don't know what else to say to it. It's like shame, and nothing will happen. There will be no recourse, right? There's no punishment for this exploit, and I don't mean to the bad guys, because maybe they get caught. I'm talking about the people that were the ones that hold the information that people trusted. There is nothing that's going to happen. Oops, sorry, happened. Maybe a fine. Like, that's not enough. That's my
I
soapbox. I'm
always,
going to get off before I
yeah,
get too testy.
yeah. Uh, to the Polish people, we our hearts go out to you. It's tough.
Yeah. All right, Cowboy, what else you got for us?
All right. Well, Akira. I mean, man, it disabled the EDR, it disabled Defender, and then it disabled Akira. I'm I'm the Cyber Cowboy. It is my birthday month. I'll be celebrating. And while I'm doing that, stay frosty.
And I'm the professor of CyberRisk. That's all the news for this week, and we'll talk again soon. If you like this podcast, share it with your colleagues and friends. Your support is how we are able to continue to make this content. Thank you.